head feels like a balloon.
Ooh, like ready to
Ooh.
pop or full of hot
Yeah.
air.
But luckily, I'm pretty hopped up on NyQuil right now. So if I fall asleep during this, someone will need to wake me up, please.
I'll do my best. I've got first responders on standby.
No, they're busy. There's a lot going on around us. Let them rest.
No. This is priority.
Not a fire they need to put out. Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome in. I'm gonna have a very hello everyone. This is an NPR episode of Fandom Social. I am really not feeling too great. And it kind of happened pretty sudden. I was gonna go to the doctor, but then everything with all of the ER that's nearby me, they're just all impacted by things that are much more important right now.
Feels like that. Yeah, it's flu season. The stuff is going around. I just got off being sick. I'm still a little stuffy. You can probably hear it.
Yeah, you sound like shit.
Yeah, dude, it's going around. It's that time of year.
Yeah, so this might be a quick one, guys. We'll be in and out in 20-30 minutes. So then you guys can get back to your Game Boy machines, to your loved ones. Okay, they go to their school. But hi everyone. Welcome in. Good night, Steve. Hello, Dwayne. Hello, Laura. Hello, Jen. Hello, Tenchi. Tenchi's already starting strong. Thought experiment. Would Starship Troopers have been better or worse if the aliens weren't bugs, but instead man-sized lizards with human teeth?
Man-sized lizards with human teeth. I'm kind of picturing. Oh, human teeth. Oh, that's immediately worse.
Yeah, I don't want to see man-sized lizards with human. This seems gross.
My brain jumps to
like an AI
the lizard.
picture. From Spider-Man.
From Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Bipedal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big teeth. No, wouldn't do that.
What about a lizard-sized man with lizard teeth? That's fun to step on.
I'd fight that.
Yeah, you could. That is much the difference between what is possible to fight and it's not is pretty great. But hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hey, JJ Joe. Long time no see, buddy. Good to hear from you. Laura says we can get to bed at a reasonable hour. Absolutely. Welcome everyone. We're doing unnecessary movie reviews. This is for Starship Troopers. Truly a movie, man-sized teeth. Truly a movie that means a lot to me, Daniel. This was I think a movie. 1997 is when this was out, Daniel. That we were too young for this to hit us at premiere, but it definitely is it came back around. I think when we were in middle school, that it seemed like a pretty harmless movie.
Yeah.
We watched
with no subtext to it.
Yeah,
right? That was back then. I was thinking about that because this was, we would have been 4 when this came out. So definitely too young to see it because it's very violent. I'm sure I remember us seeing it, God knows when for the first time, but we were a little older, 9 or 10. And it was one of those movies that just because of the nude scene in it, anytime we were watching it, I was just waiting for your mom to walk in or my mom and be like, what are you guys watching?
This movie was a sexual awakening for lots of people, but I think different people attach themselves to different things, and I blame Starship Troopers for it, which we'll get into very, very shortly. But hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you, guys. We're going to be reviewing Starship Troopers. If you haven't noticed by all the art and the thumbnail and the sexual awakening talk, obviously we're discussing Starship Troopers. So, not that this movie needs any introduction, but I want to read the description per their still website and per IMDb, and this is going to be in my NPR voice, everyone. So thank you. In a not so distant future, I already fucked this up. In a not so distant future, with the Earth governed by the militaristic United Citizen Federation and multitudes of highly evolved Klendathu arachnids threatening the safety of our solar system, high school athlete Johnny Rico and 3 of his hometown friends join up to do their part, and to ensure humankind's future, an all-out invasion has begun. However, in this far-off exoplanet hostile, wow, this is a nightmare. And to ensure humankind's future, they will attack the exoplanet hostile to life with brute force alone and conventional strategies. Now, the unstoppable bug. I am very sick, everyone. The unstoppable bug army is at the gates. Will Rico and his fellow Starship troopers end up serving as cannon fodder? Who knows?
Well, yes.
Well, in so many ways, I kind of just like copy and pasted that. I did not reread that before.
I feel like even that description kind of it does the thing in the movie where it's like they're committing to the bit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this movie's, I don't know, definitely got a place in my heart. Just for like the sheer violence alone.
Yeah.
I still love those scenes with, you know, all the swarm and all that.
Yeah.
Like those battle scenes they hold up.
Soldier, let me see your sniper. And I'd expect any of you to do the same for me. Famous last words. But I want to kind of get into some of the stuff surrounding the film before we get into our thoughts. We are bringing back something that, if you guys have been following, at least me, for a long time, you know I've used in the comics hall with our good friend Amy Chase. The AIM system is a way that I love to look at movies. Daniel, I know you know this, but if you haven't seen it, the A stands for accessibility. How easy is it to get in and watch this movie or this show or read this book? The I stands for interest. Who would be interested in this? And what's the overall interest of, the industry to that piece? And the M stands for mood. What was my mood when I got done watching this or reading this or listening to this? So that's the AIM system. Some of you may have heard it once or twice, but pretty interestingly, this movie, Daniel, box office flop, technically.
I did see that, and kind of surprised. I thought something like this would be at least like a fun summer movie or something. Something to go watch.
Well, it was supposed to be a summer movie, but they got scared off because there was, I guess, reshoots, and they just were not sure that this type of movie, which apparently the marketing for this movie in the United States was handled very differently than all over. Again, something else we can get to, but the budget for this movie in current day was actually 105 million, which is a ton of money for this, but feels apt, I think.
I mean, they got Phil Tippett and ILM on it. I think it was ILM. But, I feel like the budget, maybe those actors weren't superstars in their day. We got a photo of the cast here. I can't imagine all that budget went to the casting.
Yeah, I'd have to say that at this point, and our audience can correct us if we're wrong, which we usually are. But I think Denise Richards is the biggest star at that point.
Yeah, I can see that.
Am I not wrong?
What's his name? Neil Patrick Harris. He had Doogie Howser, which was,
he was like Doogie Howser. Like, you know what I mean? That's like young Sheldon at this point. Like, being in this movie. I don't know. I think from the main cast, like, I understand that Michael Ironside was huge at the time, but I think from that image, I think Denise Richards was probably the biggest, and I wonder if she made the most money from this.
Good point.
So it did open up around not so stiff competition, some pretty fluid competition. It opened up against Flubber, Anastasia, and Alien Resurrection, which I have actually seen all three of those. Alien Resurrection is terrible. Sorry if you love Alien Resurrection, but I think that movie's pretty bad. But it didn't really have a ton of stiff competition. I forgot to look up exactly what it would have opened up against that first Thursday, the second Thursday of July when it was supposed to open, but it opened up in November, which seemed like the better option, I think. To JJ Joe's point, if it wasn't rated R, it probably would have done a lot better.
That's a good point. But I couldn't see it working as well without being rated R.
Yeah. It would have lost a lot of its teeth for sure.
Yeah.
But one thing that I found really interesting about this movie is it was out-earned by another film by the name of Bean, just Bean, which
Bean?
is with Rowan Atkinson, and it is it is a
Mr.
Mr.
Bean.
Bean. It is a Mr. Bean film. Well, now listen. So, what people project happened is that tons of impressionable teenagers bought movies for the PG rated Bean and snuck into Starship Troopers.
Oh, oh, God.
So the movie out earned it. But I mean, other than today, when's the last time you thought about Bean? You know? So it won the culture war, that's for sure.
And it's become a cult classic since, you
Yeah,
know.
it has.
This movie's so widely like well regarded.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Laura, Mr. Bean is beloved. No
Transcends
shade on
language.
Mr. Bean. But Bean the movie was, I think, was canon fodder for kids to just get into Starship Troopers. And me and Daniel have snuck into plenty of movies in our time.
Allegedly.
Well, that's right. I guess caught up. So that makes perfect sense. All right. Well, before we get into like our thoughts and everything about the movie, Daniel, anything that you wanted to add? Like, do you remember watching this? Like, did you rewatch this again?
I did. Yeah. I rewatched this just for
Okay.
this episode.
Okay.
But you know, this is one where I mean I've got it saved to my YouTube TV, so it's always in my DVR. I throw it on when I'm bored, when I need background noise or something. It's just one of the many movies I'll like cycle through. I just put something on so I can forget and wash dishes or something. So I don't know. For me, this was always something that's been around. You know, I feel like I see this at least once a year without trying.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be on like TNT or TBS. You know, one of those
they stopped.
sci-fi.
Yeah, for some reason they stopped pulling it. And yeah, I think the same. Like, this is a movie that I never ever skip, but oddly enough, I watched it for the first time through and through 2 or 3 days ago, and I hadn't seen it again in full from start to finish in probably 15 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's fair. You know, I feel like I catch bits and pieces of it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if everyone else feels the same way, but there was just so much in this movie that I just completely forgot. I completely forgot Rico like comes from money. I forgot about a lot of like the boot camp scene. I forgot all of like the faux pro like fascism there is, you know. Like, the movie is like a mock, right? Also, one of the most I feel, after just looking at some of the discourse online, like one of the more what do you call it? Maybe misunderstood films.
Oh yeah, no, and they, you know, there was a little bit of discourse on TikTok not too long ago regarding Starship Troopers and how certain leaning factions will like view it, right? Some just watch it superficially and take away the patriotism and the like the glory of the fight and all that. Like, you know, that's what they walk away with, right? Like sometimes that subtext will miss people.
Yeah, flies right over their head. Very Undrax like for them. It's just so the movie just it like to me was funnier when I watched it again as a 31-year-old man. I found the movie way funnier and way like way more satirical than I remember it when I was.
Yeah, I feel that. It felt a little more like on the nose. You know, I mean, from watching it as a kid to watching it and like trying to parse through like the subtext. Yeah, I caught myself sitting there. I'm like, oh, well, you know, that's obvious. Well, that's obvious. I didn't know what a Nazi uniform looked like. But once I did, I was like, oh, there it is.
I love the idea. There's so many theories online. And one of the theories that I actually enjoyed is someone saying that the movie is a pro-government, pro-fascism propaganda film being made in universe
I think I've seen that.
Like, people in the military. And I kind of like that idea. And when once I watched the movie from that perspective, I was like, oh yeah, that makes way more sense. Like this is what happens when you have fascism and you get all of the stuff that Mustache Man, not me, but the other Mustache Man wanted from his ideologies is like you get Starship Troopers. And I can understand the read of people being like, this movie is so dumb, like it's just like glorifying the Empire, right? Essentially, is what the movie is doing. And like it the fact that I think yes, so many people have missed the point, much to Tenchi's point there. Like in Fight Club is I think what makes this movie so lasting. That there's like so many weird things in this movie that I'm like, yeah, dude, this is a weird ass propaganda movie.
Right. Where certain things don't quite line up, like the bugs throwing an asteroid across the galaxy with precision, Yeah.
And I'm not even kidding, everyone, probably from like Tuesday and Wednesday, 6 hours watching this video that's a Starship Troopers video discussing the possibility of physics comprehension for these arachnids on Klendathu, and people trying to explain how it is possible that they sent the asteroid through a wormhole. And I was like, I'm too far in. Like, I'm way too far in. Like, that's kind of where it lost me a little bit. But
I did see this going around where what is it like? I think Denise Richards, like, she's like, oh my god, an asteroid, and they knock it.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't remember, the Roger Young is the name of the ship that Denise Richards and Xander are piloting.
That's
also the beginning of my hatred for that name. I hate that name.
Really, Xander?
Yeah, I don't like it. Like, I have a friend whose like son is named Xander. So if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. He's cool, but I hate that name, and it's because of Starship Troopers, I think.
That's fair. Xander was not my favorite cast member.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Well, let's get into the review a little bit more here now, because I am fading fast.
Oh no,
I can barely hear myself because I'm like so congested. So, but I do sound like Batman in my own head right now, so that's pretty great. So as far as accessibility goes, Daniel, if no one has watched this movie before, how easy is it for someone like an adult our age, someone you're just chatting up at the bar, you and your fiance are planning a wedding and you're stressed, so you go to a bar and you're just like, oh my god, like what do we even talk about with all these people? You're like, let's talk about Starship Troopers. How easy is it for you to like pitch this movie and then get someone to be like, oh, you'll completely understand it? Or do you think it's a little inaccessible and it needs like a rewatch?
You know what? No, I think in their attempt to make it a satire, it was flawlessly executed as a satire. I think in making it a satire, it's almost more accessible because like there is something to be taught or seen or like noticed. And I feel like on its face, like you could really sell it as just like, oh yeah, it's humanity fighting against this bug race and trying to like save humanity. That alone, if you tell someone like, oh, it's a sci-fi war movie, it's humans versus bugs. I mean, something like that. It's very like Attack of the whatever giant spider or something. I think it's easy to get into.
Yeah, I agree. I think too, like it really depends on your audience of like how you want to get people into this movie, because like the way you would get me as like a 7-year-old is like, oh dude, you're gonna love it. There's boobs, there are people fighting aliens and Johnny Rico, and they're playing some weird what's it called, jump ball.
Yeah.
The game that they play is canonically known as.
Oh, is that what it was called? That like football? Oh, okay.
That weird ass football gymnastics hybrid. It's called jump ball.
That's fitting. Yeah. That's fitting. Hate it though, but I feel like you could easily sell me with that. Easy peasy.
Yeah, and so again, as far as the movie, I do think the movie works better on like a second watch though.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like I don't know, maybe if you watch it going in blind, your brain is going to pick up that like subtext, I'm sure. If you don't identify it the first time, like the second go around, you're going to like really pick things up.
That and that's a great professional segue because this movie, I mean, I don't know when the last time you guys, hey Luis, what's up, dude? I don't know the last time you guys have watched this. You know, obviously me and Daniel just watched this, but this movie, Daniel, moves so fast.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
holy shit, the movie like really chugs along. And like 1 minute, he's like, don't talk about Carmen like that. And then he's in boot camp. And I'm like, holy shit. He also gets like 4 promotions in the span of like a month.
And only from surviving. He's failing upwards.
Yeah.
And good for him.
You know,
get the bag.
As a fellow personality hire, I understand. But like it's just so crazy because there's nothing, and I might jump around a little bit here. And if you haven't seen Starship Troopers, I have zero empathy. I have zero sympathy for spoilers. But when like all of the moments when he's just like, I've only got one rule, either what does he say? Survive or get out of the way. What is this thing that he says?
You will not
everyone
quit.
fights, no one quits.
No one quits.
And he's like, we're the Roughnecks. He's like, Rico's Roughnecks. I'm like, you just met him. Like, you have no idea if he can handle a squad or not.
That's a great point. Yeah. But it goes to show that like that blind faith that they say fascism needs a hero to rally around to really like drive it. And they kind of point that out towards the end when what's his name? Zim at the very end. You know, they're like, oh, it was Zim's the hero, and then everybody swarms him. But yeah, I feel like there's definitely like a hero trope there.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think like there is that objectification of like valor in this movie, like you see with like something like American Sniper, right? Where like the goal is America. Tenchi says, doesn't it essentially span 3 or 4 years of the time? I don't think so.
It's not very clear in its timeline, but I think it is a couple years.
Really? Is it?
I think. You don't know. Maybe not. It's probably just.
I don't know. I might have to like rewatch, but I don't think that is true. I think the movie takes place over at best a month. From what I could clock, it was like a month. Because
they say the boot camp was supposed to be a 2-year program, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. But then he like almost drops out, and then they go to war. So all of these people who were just like not trained go to war.
Yeah, you're so right. But I mean, who better than, you know, the youngins to put into the meat grinder?
Right. And I love that they being the director, Paul Verhoeven, also from RoboCop, Total Recall, and a favorite of mine, probably because of the violence and boobs as a young kid, but Hollow Man.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it.
Really? The Kevin Bacon movie?
I saw it. Yeah. No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, another good one. But one thing that I think Paul Verhoeven does really well, or Verhoeven, someone will correct me very soon, is you really give like you, the audience, again, as we've already mentioned, the opportunity to discuss like, is this propaganda? Is this not? But like one of the pivotal moments of that is early on in the film when Buenos Aires, where Rico, pull up a picture of Rico again, Daniel, and tell me if this looks like someone from Buenos Aires. Like, but have you seen like what his explanation for it would be?
No, I don't think I have.
It's that in world, like, because he gets asked about it a lot. I always want to call him Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's not. It's Casper Van Dien. But Casper Van Dien, he had said that like in his story, the lore is that he is like the descendants of German Nazis who fled to Buenos Aires, like to South America.
And see, I had a feeling that's where it was going, because like there were a lot of like blonde hair, blue-eyed cast members throughout, like just like even the main cast, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little like trope that they were going for. Very of the same demographic.
Again, I didn't read the book, but I always thought it was weird. Like, why would you make it in South America? Like that like I'm
In
pretty
my
sure in the
head,
book he speaks like Tagalog and is not from
oh,
like South America. Again, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's not from South America in the book. So like such a weird thing to do unless this is like you're actively saying like, oh yes, he is the descendant of Nazi escapees, and like that's why he's blonde hair, blue eyed.
I could see that. In my mind, it was always because it takes place in like what 2190 something, like
2183,
2183.
2197. Sorry, 2197.
97. Okay.
You're right.
In my mind, it was always something like, climate change push people like into different like regions or whatever. For me, I always thought like, oh, it was just a a symptom of that being from the in the future that humans just lived in different places now. But yeah, I never really like put that context together of oh, maybe they are descendants from Nazi Germany's fleeing to Argentina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once he like mentioned that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. That like sets up such an interesting world of Starship Troopers that is almost Juan Rico. Boy. Oh yeah, he was Filipino. Yeah, I knew it. Like, and he speaks Tagalog. And so yeah, I always thought it was just like so fascinating that they kind of went that route. But okay, we can move into the eye, the interest. Overall, who would like this film? Daniel has kind of already explained that a little earlier. People who like sci-fi, like Bugs, the other B. I'm not going to say again. I don't want to get in trouble. Those boobs. But what I find interesting is the interest in this film, like today versus back then.
Yeah, because this movie wasn't really it wasn't a huge hit when it came out.
Yeah,
and
not at all.
But I think over the years, people had time to stew on it, develop on it, and same thing like with Fight Club. People's outcomes definitely change about 10 years out.
Yeah, it was definitely a movie that people were not ready for, especially in its like subtext and the meanings in which Paul Verhoeven actually like wanted the movie to be in. Like that, like the part of people's brain that he wanted this movie to live in, like it just like that part of the brain was not developed in 97 for the mass box office consumption. But again, it's why it's such a testament as to why it survived. Like now we look at it as like, oh, it's satire and we've picked it apart and people are doing deep dives on like the different arachnid species and how they're bioorganic, so they don't need like the technology. And there's like crazy rabbit holes you can go down. But at the time,
the world building too, just like all the lore that sets out, like you said, the pacing's crazy and they explain things really fast. But for them to have like different like species of bugs that they're fighting, there's like the tanker, the drone, the brain bug. Ugh. This one always grossed me the hell out.
I hate looking at it. It looks like a mite, like a termite or something. A tick. Oh, I hate looking at it. And they did
so
such a good
goopy.
I know when they have it at the end and they capture it, and they're like in the and he like in the planet, right? Not Clendathu, I forgot where they are, but he's like touching it before Neil Patrick Harris is like it's afraid. You can just see all its like little bumps. I was like, oh my god!
And it's like even and it's breathing, like yeah, it's gross.
I hated it as a kid, and I hated it now. And they did such a good job. Like so much practical effects were applied during this as well, and I really really enjoyed it. And I could tell, like especially now watching with a more distinct eye, like for film, which I know sounds pretentious. I'm so sorry, but it like you can see you're like, oh yeah, that looks so good because
even today. I feel like there are some scenes like sometimes the motion's a little computery, but I feel like for the most part, like there's a photo of Phil Tippett working on like one of the models for it, and you can tell, like, I mean, everything is a point on it. Everything is pointy. Those like reference photos or whatever they use to really like lock in the CGI was, I mean, ahead of its time. Or state of the art, rather.
Tippett also worked on like Jurassic Park and stuff, right? Is that him?
Yeah. And the Star Wars films.
Oh, right. Those. Yeah. Yes, Dwayne, we got to get you off the boobs, buddy. The brain second seems to be, yeah. I mean, I wonder if it was cheesy for the alien. Like, I wonder if he had cheesy brains. You know, like nacho cheese brains. What do you think your brains would taste like, Daniel?
Boba, maybe.
You'd have like
Sweet,
boba,
but like gooey.
I think mine would be like salty because I like salty foods. I'm not a big sweets person, but I love a good like salty piece of meat. I don't know.
Wendy's fries. Those are just that salt with the side of fry.
Like, I wonder if like we, you know, as Mexicans, if our brains taste different.
It's a little eugenicsy.
Yeah. yeah.
I'm sure they're a little spicy.
Yeah, there's like, it's like, oh, do you have like anything else? Do you have like normal ones? It's like, here, take Paul. He doesn't speak very good Spanish. Okay, that's better.
Yeah, that scene where he
always
reminded me of a boba straw.
So gross. So gross. I honestly I love that particular scene only because, like, to me, when I was watching that, I was like, holy dang. I gotta stop cussing so much. I could see exactly how much of like the practicality goes into it. Like, that's got to be like some weird like vacuum that some like PA is just turning on, and you can just see like whatever weird brains are going on. Very similar to the scene where they're dissecting that one alien, and Denise
in
throws
class.
up in her. She throws up like they're mashed bananas is what I found out she threw up. Like, that's all practical, and she was supposed to like duck her head and throw up and go like that, but they gave her too much, I guess, and so she throws up in her hand and is running away, and so that's genuine.
Oh wow.
And
I love those little
Rico's like laughing and everyone's laughing at her. They're actually laughing at her, and they just kept it in. And
it worked. You know, it was great. And it's so gross because like I forget it's coming, and when it does happen, I get icked out still.
I still hate it. Like, I don't like the squishiness. There's so much of that in this. Very similar. And I know horror fans are gonna kill me, but in like The Thing, when if you've seen it, like the way that the monster looks and like that weird body horror that is really that John Carpenter really implores throughout the film. Like, it just makes me like not want to look, not because of like a jump scare, but I hate the like textures and the, like you said, the gooiness. And this movie is very gooey. You're right.
This movie's so bit like with textures for some reason. I don't know what it is. It stands out, but like I think of like the orange pool of blood on the big beetle thing. When he like tosses the grenade in, like it splashes, you know, or when he's like shooting down into it and it's just like covered in orange goo.
Yeah.
And then Daisy's covered in like a bright green, that neon, you know, the neon green blood, the squishy noises. There's so much to this. Like, I feel like there's so many little details like that really help build the world out.
Yeah. Even in a weird way, it is. Yes. Thank you, Jen. Does. When the one soldier kills the other soldier when he takes his helmet off in basic training. Like the practical effects that they did on that are horrid to look at. Like, they're so good. And it's funny, you can see like because of the editing, like the editing in that scene is actually pretty good. Like, there's like a brief cut and you can kind of notice, and then the it's like a prosthetic and his head is like up, and they CGI'd like the bullet, right? Like, you can tell. But then when I rewatched it, you can see like the dummy or the actual model like falling, and then you just hear like the squish and his brain kind of coming out, and then all you hear is like medic. And I was like, holy shit, dude. I had like a really like emotional reaction to that scene watching. I was like, oh my god. And God, it's not Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Casper
Van Dien. That's like the one scene I was like, he's really good at that scene.
Yeah. I think he gets his like I was gonna say his coworker. He gets his buddy killed.
His coworker,
Um,
yes.
and that's
No,
when
it
he gets
was.
like the whips, the whip, the lashes.
He's clocked out forever.
Yeah, but yeah, like the dummies in the scene where they find the outpost, just like not abandoned, but after it's like been attacked, there's just like bodies littered everywhere. Like they did so good. Even then, like it's gory, but like it still feels kind of real. You know, like it feels like they really did just like find this, outpost that is just littered with bodies now.
And one of the things I learned that was interesting is they hired several veterans who had lost limbs in one war or another.
Oh wow!
To play these characters, and then they would just like blow up they would use like squibs and like blow out the legs, and they didn't have their legs, so then they would just like act. And so that's why it looks so squishy and so gross, is because they built like a fake leg and then they just like blow it up and then they just have them acting because they got like, it's just such a cool detail in the film that I like.
Sure.
Very traumatizing. Yes. It is absolutely something that I loved in this. And it reminded me of like, I love watching the kids like in the like early propaganda films squishing the bugs.
Oh,
because I was like, do you think like PETA, like, you remember the cow scene, right? Like, that's censored because PETA was like upset by that in the early cut. So they weren't happy about it. So that's why it's censored. I think it works better censored.
Yeah.
Like I think it works into the gag.
There was I saw someone floating the theory that like they censored that because like in universe, right? Like the in universe reason, like when they're watching that broadcast, like they would see that censor bar. They're saying that like, oh, that's there because like, the violence against the animal doesn't really generate like an emotional response, but they'll show the dead bodies, right? Because they know when you see a dead human, like you're more likely to feel emotional about it, thus leading to you possibly enlisting with, the Federation.
There's a causation behind the casualty, like it equals something. And so with that scene, I don't know why, but like I got so fixated on the kids when they're like squishing the roaches.
Jumping and stomping.
Do you think like PETA cares about like bugs?
I don't think so. I'm sure they probably have some kind of like party line that they'll bring out, but I don't know. I don't
cares about bugs, but I thought about that a lot. I don't know why. So someone can let us know. I was just thinking about like, does PETA care about bugs? Are bugs included in the PETA-verse? In the PETA-ness?
Definitely not the PETA-ness.
I'm gonna move on from this. And lastly, the mood. Daniel, how did, like, after rewatching this again, how did you feel?
Definitely nostalgic. I maybe a little smug because I was like, I picked up all the yeah. Very much like this wouldn't work on me. I'm too smart to, not get the subtext of it. But it's so enjoyable. Like, and I hate to say it, but like, watching Rico win the fight and like inspire others, and like right at the very end where he's like, he says, do you want to live forever? Like as they're like running out for another battle.
Right.
I don't know. You feel like you're like, hell yeah. Like it is like inspiring a little. I feel like watching it, I felt a little like triumphant when it was over. I don't know. You walk away from it with like a positive experience.
I just want to say the propaganda absolutely worked on you. I walked away feeling pretty good. Watching all of the discourse on this movie about it being like pro-fascism, but like a satire on pro-fascism, like as an adult, that made the movie more enjoying to watch. And with the movie having like surprisingly deep lore, like the effects that were like, to me, this movie holds up, like, and I think it just will, because clearly here we are, coming up on almost 30 years.
It's been a while.
This movie's been out, and we're still talking about it, and the movie's still good. And
I'll say, like, in today's world, it feels even more prescient. Definitely some real world idea parallels that you can draw between the movie and what's going on today. But even that, I feel like it really is a good satirical piece that was like executed perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
and there's layers to it. A dad can watch this with his like kid, right? And hopefully like cover his eye. Shouldn't. Very bad.
Should not.
And it's almost like a Pixar movie where it's like there are jokes for the grown-ups and they're most of it's like aimed at the kid. I feel like it's something like that where there's a little something for everyone,
Yeah. Well,
definitely not
a
fun for the family.
No, a little something for everyone. Let us know, guys. What did you think about this, like Starship Troopers? Like on rewatch, because obviously we've all seen this at one point or another. But on rewatch, let us know what you think. But that's it. That's our show. We just wanted to come on and talk about Starship Troopers and battle. And Denise, and here's Denise Richards. Just kind of chat a little bit about this movie. We will be back next week at 7 p.m. Pacific time, where I think what are we doing, Daniel? Pop culture news.
Pop culture news.
I'm sure there's tons to go over. We'll carry that then. I'm gonna go and slip into this NyQuil because I'm fading fast. So Daniel, thank you so much. Yes, Kita, thank you as well. Or Milo, whichever. I can't tell you two freaking apart. So thank you guys so much. Remember to like what you love what you like, and service guarantees citizenship. I couldn't think of it. Bye everyone.
Bye everyone.
Bye. Also,